Alright, I got a huge bone to pick with this game. Alright, so I've been playing Khazan the past couple days, and man, I've just been having a real issue with this game. You see, I've been playing Souls games since I was a little freaking weeny tiny baby, playing Demon Souls when I was 9 years old, with a bunch of other friggin' 20-year-olds who were playing it. So I know a thing or two about Souls games, okay? And trust me when I say, holy shit, this is the best Souls-like I've played since Lies of P, man. I think this game might even be better than the Elden Ring DLC, and that is not an exaggeration. The bosses feel tough, but not to the point where I ever feel like it's unfair. And that's not something From Software has been able to accomplish recently. All this coming from an anime game too? Give me a break. The combat is super reminiscent of Sekiro, and if you've been following me for a bit, you know that that's one of my favorites. You gotta learn the boss patterns, parry accordingly, wait for your opportunity, and then once you break their stagger gauge, hit them with an ultra-powerful attack and then rinse and repeat until it's over. It's nothing groundbreaking, right? But it's a system that's been proven to work once before, and honestly, don't fix what ain't broken. There are multiple different weapon types at your disposal that Khazan can wield, and all of them feel distinct in their playstyles. There's the dual-wield weapon, the great sword, and the spear, which is my personal favorite. The dual-wield style allows for quick, flashy hits before backing out just as fast. The great sword allows for huge, impactful blows, but at the cost of mobility, and the spear seems like a good mix of both, and to me personally, feels the best to use out of the three. But I think the weapons are all designed well enough, and that means whatever feels best is going to be different for everyone, which is just another good mark for the combat system. Each weapon also has its very own skill tree, allowing for even more customization and more movesets to be unlocked the further along you get in the game. So while the customization options may not be as extensive as something like Elden Ring, there's still plenty here for players to experiment with. A really great add-on that would be sick in an update could be to add the ability to switch between different weapons on the fly instead of just using one at a time, but I don't know, maybe that's just me. Every hit here feels impactful though, and nothing feels better than getting some hits in on a boss, getting those perfect parries in between, and then flowing into a devastating attack once your opponent's been staggered. I mean, just look at the gameplay, and if this looks even remotely cool to you, then trust me, it feels even better to play. The main attraction here, though, that I think everyone is going to want to know about are the bosses. They're far and beyond the best part of Khazan, and really one of the only reasons you're going to want to keep playing. Each boss feels distinctive in their design. For instance, the first boss is this freaking Yeti monster you fight in the middle of a snowfield, and he's over here hurling rocks at you, charging at you, giving you the fight of your life. Then the next boss is a phantom enemy you need to fight, and his moveset is completely different. He's quick, doesn't charge at you like an idiot beast would, and uses your own weapons and moveset against you because he's somewhat of a reflection of yourself, without spoiling too much. And that's just the first two bosses in the game alone. Every one of them feels exhilarating to fight and distinct in their own way, but I think the greatest accomplishment Khazan is able to pull off is that none of it feels unfair. There's not a single death I've had in this game where I felt, yeah, that was complete bull. It's hard, sure, but never impossible. And I think that's one of the biggest distinctions from other games in the Souls-like genre trying to do the same. They're never able to be challenging without feeling ridiculously unfair, and I think that's why I've shied away from playing games outside of the original Dark Souls trilogy and a few others for that exact reason. And hell, it's something the Elden Ring DLC wasn't even able to accomplish, and seems to be becoming a problem that From Software and Miyazaki themselves are having trouble in overcoming. So a huge hats off to the devs of Khazan for successfully being able to pull that off. Even more rare is how freaking well this game runs. The optimization is something I'm not used to from AAA gaming at this point. Every single release on PC without fail has been a complete buggy mess, and it's become the new standard for AAA gaming at this point. The launch date isn't exactly the real launch date. You need to wait a couple weeks to a few months for that, at least on PC anyway. And so I'm happy to say that that does not apply at all to Khazan. I have an i7-10700K for reference, a GTX 2070, and I did not experience a single issue with the game in my 10 hours of playtime so far, and that is just another incredible feat. I even got the game 3 days early too, so technically it wasn't even officially released. More developers could learn from these guys. That's for sure. That's not to say everything about this game is amazing, though. As great as the bosses are and as distinctive as they are to fight, it's clear that a lot of the time spent developing this game was spent with the bosses. The environments and side content have heavily suffered as a result of that focus, which, to be fair, isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just a trade-off I think people interested in Khazan should be wary of. A lot of the environments aren't really anything special. I mean, you've seen all this before. A desecrate snow area, a cave filled with cavernous spiders, a royal capital. It's pretty standard RPG stuff. Nothing like the breathtaking environments you would see in a game like Elden Ring. Also, don't expect an open world that's connected like Dark Souls or anything like that. The game takes place in instanced missions, and you essentially play through the level, unlocking a bonfire here and there until you make it to the area boss. Rinse and repeat that process over and over until the end of the game. Like I said, I don't think this is inherently a bad thing, just something to be aware of when purchasing the game if instance-based missions and areas aren't really your thing. On top of that, none of the areas really provide a particular challenge, other than the bosses, obviously, so that can result in feeling like playing through an area a bit mindlessly in order to get to the good part. I understand why, though. It's not like a boss rush would be enough on its own to justify a $60 price tag, so hey, it's whatever. No game's perfect. Personally, I'm able to look past those shortcomings because of how great the combat is and how much of a joy the bosses are to fight, but who knows, you might be different from me. Another big con for me personally is the story. I just could not care less what's going on plot-wise. Who is this character? What is their motivation? Why is he being attacked by this spider? Nobody knows. Boss fight time. I don't know if it was just because I was having a hard time paying attention, but I don't think the story is presented particularly well, and since the devs didn't really care about putting any effort into it, I didn't really feel like I had to either. All that being said, something I would have really enjoyed would have been a multiplayer aspect to this game. I know, maybe that's just a subjective need, but I would have loved the ability to see other players' messages or bloodstains, or even have the ability to have some jolly cooperation would have been nice, but I understand why they wanted to go with a single-player focus, and again, it's not like this is a huge con or anything, just something I would have preferred. All in all, I highly recommend Khazan, as it's one of the best Souls-likes I've played in recent memory. And trust me, I've played a lot of them. If you're even remotely a fan of Dark Souls or Souls-likes in general, then you won't regret purchasing this game. In fact, I'll be streaming some more of it here on the channel the moment this video goes live, so if you're looking to see more of it, or if you're not fully convinced and want to ask me a question to see if it's worth a purchase, then feel free to drop by the live after finishing the video. Khazan gets a 10 out of 10 from me, baby. I'll catch you guys in the next one. I'm off to play. Later!